Hi, friends. Sarah here with Faithful Finish Lines, and I will have Becky, who will be joining me very soon. I have lost 100 pounds and am maintaining my weight loss. I've actually been maintaining for 12 or 13 years now. And Becky has also lost 100 pounds. And together we run a program called Faithful Finish Lines. And there's Becky, so I'm going to bring her on video. We run a program online for Christian women called Faithful Finish Lines. Hey, Becky, good to see you.
Hey, Sarah, good to see you too.
And we also have Tiffany, who's going to be joining us today behind the scenes for support. So she might be answering some of your questions. We've got a couple of really great giveaways. Yep, there's Tiffany that we're going to be doing, and she's going to help us with those. So this is part one in a series of 3 videos, actually. So today's video is Becky and Sara Get Real. We are going to be real, honest. We're going to share some heart-to-heart stuff about our weight loss journeys, some of our biggest struggles when we were at our heaviest weights, and where God has brought us. And I want to say too that the reason we're sharing this is not just to air our dirty laundry for all the world to see. If you know Becky and I, you know that's really not our, it goes a little bit against our grain, honestly. But
Yeah.
2 reasons, really. One is we both have had such an amazing transformation because of how God is working in our lives. We don't take the credit ourselves. We give God all glory and credit. And so we want to share the ways that He has brought about. I really see it as a miracle, a slow miracle. It didn't happen like that, like I wanted it to, but truly a miracle. And the other reason that we're sharing some of these things is that this is tough. I so much remember when I was at my heaviest, some of the really very painful things that I went through. And I know that at the time it feels very lonely. You feel like you're alone. You're the only one. No one else would understand. And we want you to know that you're not alone. You're not the only one. And there are those of us who have and are going through similar things. And then Becky and I are here to say it is possible to find hope, healing, recovery. You can do it. We absolutely believe you can get to your goal weight, and more important, have freedom, food freedom. And that's what we want to that's why we're sharing some of this tough stuff and what we want to share with you today.
Absolutely.
So as you're joining us in the comments, tell us where you're from. We'd love to hear about where you're from, and everybody who's joining us. That would just be really wonderful. So.
Oh, it's so fun to see all these familiar names. Teresa's here,
great.
Barb, Sandy, Patty, Jenny.
Yeah, welcome everybody. It's great to have you. So, okay, so let's just dive right in, Becky, and get started. So, Becky, if you want to tell us a little bit of your weight loss story and where you are today.
Yeah, so it's really hard to condense because it took a long time. I was not a 1-year miraculous weight loss story. It just took a long time. It took a lot of years. And I know that we've mentioned this before, but my weight loss journey was not this linear thing where I just kept losing and losing and losing. I would gain some, I would lose some, I would gain some of it back and lose some. So I started gaining weight around 1st grade. And I just kept gaining weight until I was technically in the severely obese category. So just getting close to morbidly obese, but not quite there. And I think that that's my highest weight. I wasn't exactly the greatest at record keeping, and I was really good at trying to fudge my numbers back then.
Exactly. What my driver's license said and what I actually weighed, we're not even going to talk about. I mean, it was at least 50 pounds, might have even been 75 at one point. Huge difference.
Oh,
so.
Yeah. I mean, at my heaviest, I just didn't even want to see how much I weighed. And so I wasn't stepping on the scale. So I know my heaviest recorded weight, but I have a feeling I was quite a bit higher than that.
Good point.
For some time. So, I gained weight, and I think my highest weight was around age 14. And so a lot of this was during my teenage years.
Wow.
And that was when I really started the dieting. And I know that you guys know this really well. I was the chronic yo-yo dieter. I went on every diet and I would do awesome for 30 days and I would lose weight and then I would just crash and burn. And I was miserable all of those years. I felt fat. I felt like nothing was working. I felt like I was the one that was broken because I was trying all these things that were working for everybody else. And I didn't have the willpower. I just didn't have it. I didn't feel like I had it. And so it was really frustrating for a long time. And so we'll get more into the specific things, some of the specific things I did later. But I mean, where I am today, I can't even tell you. It feels so surreal all the time. I am so in charge around food. I love food. I enjoy food. I just went out with my small group ladies yesterday. We went to this bistro and we all shared a ton of desserts. And so I eat these decadent, amazing things, but I'm not out of control. I'm not eating in secret. I'm not binging. I can be around really good food and enjoy it for what it is without overdoing it. And that is just so far from what it used to be for me that it just feels amazing. And like you just said, food freedom, I am living it. And I can't even describe to you how good it feels to be able to be around all those foods that used to drive me nuts and be able to stop when I'm full and say no when I don't need it. And it's just an amazing thing to have an off button that I didn't used to have for many years.
It gives me happy chills every time I hear your story. And even though I've heard it lots of times, I'm so happy for you and so excited about the ways that God is working in your life. So it's awesome.
Absolutely. What about you?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love about our partnership is that we have really different things that we experience, and then we have things that overlap. And I think we really bring a lot to Faithful Finish Lines because we do have differences, and so we can relate to different women, but then we also have these core things that are the same. And so that's really helped us understand the basis for what works for weight loss. So all my life struggled with my weight, looking back at pictures, judging from the time that I was maybe 3 or 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
I know I was over 200 pounds in high school because I remember those horrible like presidential weight loss things. Could not do one single pull-up, or we had to hold ourselves. And I remember the gym teacher gave me 1 second, which was just being nice. And we had to weigh ourselves, and I just all of that was so difficult. But would go on diets. Primarily for me, I didn't do a lot of different types of diets. I more did either Weight Watchers or count calories. And I could lose weight like a champ for a short period of time, sometimes even as much as 40 or 50 pounds. I did that a number of times, but then I would always gain it back. And I like to say when the pounds come back, they like to bring friends. So I'd end up heavier than ever. And when I was in my mid-30s, for sure 250 pounds, might have even been more than that, like you talked about, Becky. I called my insurance company and asked about seeing a therapist who works with people with eating disorders. The other big part of my story is binge eating. I did a lot of binge eating where in one sitting I would eat thousands of calories, and I would hide what I was eating, and I would hide the wrappers, and I would secretively eat, and I would eat to the point that I would make myself sick. And I just knew I had to do something. And I was in therapy for really quite a long time, 4 or 5 years, going on a regular basis. And it was quite a spiritual journey too. And I've been maintaining my weight loss now for 12 or 13 years, I think it's been. And again, I really give God all the credit and glory. And for me, a big part of it has been my exercise too. Went from total couch potato to walking, to 5K, to half marathon, to triathlon, to now my black belt in Taekwondo. So God has brought me very far, and I always say God has a sense of humor because I always hated all types of exercise. I was the person who wanted to sit on the couch and read a good book. Thank you very much. I did not want to do any of that crazy running stuff. And yet this is where God has me. So he has a sense of humor for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get into some of the real stuff. And I love seeing everybody here. I see Heather's here and Kathy's here and so many people, I can't even mention them all, but we're thrilled to have you all here.
Yes, so much.
So, Becky, what would you say were some of the painful moments that you remember happening when you were at your heaviest weight?
Yeah, I had quite a few that came to mind, and there are a few that I share pretty often just on my blog and on social media, and so I don't want to share those again because I'm sure a lot of you have already seen them. But there were a lot of things that started coming to mind that I'd kind of tucked away and hadn't thought about for a while, and the one word that I would say that describes all of these is mortified. in these situations, I just remember feeling mortified. And so I remember I was on an airplane once and I couldn't buckle my seatbelt, and I was with my parents. I was still, a teenager, and I was mortified. I was so terrified that somebody was going to see that I could not buckle my seatbelt. And so thankfully it was cold weather. And so I had a big old hoodie on. And so I just kind of tucked my seatbelt, like I put it as far as it could go around me, and I just tucked the rest of it under my seatbelt so that the flight attendant couldn't see. But my heart has never beat so fast as when that flight attendant was walking down, looking down the aisles to check. And I was just so sure that she was going to stop and call me out for being fat in front of everybody. And I was mortified. I remember when I went to Disneyland one time, and I was with my dad, and we had waited for like an hour to get on this ride, and they don't even have this ride anymore. It was in California Adventure. They had these, it was a big orange, and they were swings that went around. Well, I didn't see until we were just about to get on the ride that I was over the weight limit. And I, again, was so embarrassed that I didn't want to tell my dad that I was above the weight limit. I didn't want to tell the people at Disneyland, sorry, I can't go on this ride anymore. So I got on, and I held on to the chains on that swing for dear life, like just thinking like, oh, just hold your weight up the whole time, hold your weight up the whole time. Like, and I was so mortified the whole time, so scared that somebody was going to find me out. And that my weight was just going to be so much more obvious than it already was to everybody around me. And like you said with the fitness testing, so the pull-ups, that part didn't embarrass me because a lot of my other friends, they were skinny and they couldn't do the pull-ups
That's
either,
true.
or the hanging test. And
right.
so that didn't make me feel bad. But I remember one specific test where I was the only one in the entire room that couldn't do a sit-up. And not a single one. And so, and they had that whole timed thing, and everybody's going up and down and up and down. And the coach is just standing there watching me, and I can't do one. And so he sends me into another room with a girl, one of the popular girls, of course, and says, like, go ahead and like try it again, have her do it again. And so not only did I have to do it once in front of everybody, again, in front of this popular girl, I had to show that I could not do this. I was just so weak. And it just, when you can't do something physically and you're fat, it is just the worst. It is the worst. And so I was just so incredibly embarrassed. I mean, when we played, I was on a volleyball team. And so I tried to be active some. I hated all of the running parts and all of that stuff. But I was actually fairly good at the skills of volleyball. But the numbers on our uniform, they got bigger the higher your size was.
Oh,
and
that's horrible. Oh.
It was awful. And so everybody saw that I had the biggest number on the team, and it was just displayed for all to see. So just terrible, just terrible. There were so many more, but those are the big examples that came to mind when I was thinking about just when I was mortified about my weight.
My heart just, yeah. And I had never heard you say before, but that your heaviest weight was when you were a teenager. Because those years are so hard anyway. They're so hard. And then adding on top of it weight issues, just, it's really tough.
It was bad. It was pretty darn bad.
Really tough. So like you, I have some stories I've already shared before, you know, like the one I shared at the beginning of this video where somebody at a party asked me if I was pregnant and I wasn't. I've shared before about how I got in my car and I realized my stomach was touching the steering wheel and I wasn't pregnant. Those were some of those rock bottom moments where I realized I need to make a change. But and I had to ask for a seatbelt extender on a flight once. I knew that was probably going to happen, and so I was a little bit more mentally prepared for it. But I would say, and this really just came to me as I was preparing for this video, there were a few times when I had binged really, really badly, and I actually tried to make myself throw up, and I just physically couldn't actually do it. I mean, I even like stuck my fingers down my throat. And I look back on that now and I think, you know, thank you, God, that I wasn't able to do that. But at the time, I felt like such a failure. Like, I can't handle my food. I can't handle my eating. I can't even make myself throw up, you know, to somehow make this better. I mean, I just was so completely miserable. And I remember, too, that when I called the insurance to ask about seeing a therapist and someone who worked with eating disorders. They started guiding me through some questions. And actually, I was really quite impressed with my insurance company. They had some really specific questions that they asked me. And, she was asking, like, are you anorexic? Do you undereat? And I'm like, no, that is not my problem. And she's like, that's good. It's good that you don't do that. And I just remember thinking, no, it's not. Like, I wanted to be anorexic, even though I knew it was so unhealthy, so bad for you. But that's how warped my thinking was, and how desperate I was, how just deeply desperate I was, that I thought, well, okay, maybe they have just as much problems as I have, but at least they're skinny.
Absolutely.
And I look back on that now and I think, I was willing to do something, willing to almost want something that was life-threatening just because at least they were skinny. That's such an unhealthy way of thinking. But that's where I was at that point in my life. I think, like your word, mortified. I think my word is desperate. Like, I would have done anything to not just lose the weight, because I knew I could lose a little bit of weight, but like lose it, keep it off, overcome the addictive eating behaviors.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what would you say was the toughest part of being 100 pounds overweight?
Yeah, I was a very different person when I was 100 pounds overweight, not just because my physical shape was different, but because I was constantly ashamed of who I was. I thought that I felt like my whole job in life was to compensate for the fact that I was overweight. And so in every situation, I tried to be as likable and as pleasing and as agreeable as I possibly could with anybody around. And so I didn't share my actual opinions. I didn't say no when I was uncomfortable doing anything. I praise God that I never got in with the bad crowd when I was a teenager, because I would have done anything just to fit in. My goal in life was to kind of fly under the radar, because if I brought any attention to myself whatsoever, I thought, they're just going to see even more than they already do that I am fat. And I was constantly trying to hide that. And so I was the girl wearing the baggy shirts and the baggy jeans and thinking somehow that covered things up. But I just like emotionally and socially, I was not, I don't even know what the right word for it is. I was very vanilla. I was whatever anybody wanted me to be. And that's just so unhealthy and so sad when I look back, because like we all know, God created you for a reason. He knit you together in your mother's womb. But I wasn't thinking about that at all back then. I was thinking I broke what God created. And so I'm just living to try to make up for that fact, because I felt just so powerless to change it at the time. And that was just really hard, just constantly in every situation feeling inadequate. I was never smart enough. I was never funny enough. I was never likable enough. And so I just did everything in my power to be. And it was hard and it was exhausting to be around anybody.
I know we're going to more answer some questions and comments at the end, but I just wanted to point out Tina, who said, anorexia nearly killed my sister-in-law. Being overweight is also hard. I do enjoy this group. So thank you for sharing that. I think, I think I shared it appropriately, but, now looking back, I would never wish anorexia, on myself or anyone else. Like, I do recognize it's such a serious eating disorder, and so is overeating, and so is binge eating too. But we know that anorexia can have such immediate effects. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Sandy says too, at one point I went from overweight to anorexia.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not unusual for people to swing between the two, because it really is kind of the same, I like to say, like two sides of the same coin. You're doing different behaviors, but it has to do with the same unhealthiness, underneath. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, the pain, so much of the pain was that it was with me everywhere I went. There was no escaping it. Like, you can't go on vacation from it. You can't take a break from it. Sometimes you can pretend that you are, like, you can say, screw it, I'm just going to eat whatever I want, or I'm just going to go buy clothes in the next bigger size. But it's still with you all the time. And, I just remember distinctly, my dad died when I was young, very unexpectedly. That was like the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life. And yet I still would say my eating issues were even harder because it was just so constant. Like, it never went away. It was just so difficult. Certainly the binge eating is definitely one of the toughest parts of, when I think back on that time. Those binges felt so out of control. I felt so driven. I felt so helpless. I felt ashamed, embarrassed. What's wrong with me? Why do I do this when other people don't do it? When I would finish one binge, I would say to myself, that's it. That's the last time. I'm never going to do it again. And then a few hours, sometimes not even the next day, like a few hours later, I would find myself binging. I would eat to the point that I felt physically sick, and then I would keep eating. Definitely, I would say almost all the time when I walked into a room, I would think, am I the biggest one here?
Oh
Whether it
yeah.
was a church meeting or a party, and, scanning the room and thinking, oh my gosh, everybody's noticing. And, now that I'm at a more natural weight, I don't look at other people like that. So I recognize that was false thinking on my part, but that I was just so conscious of my size and feeling so self-conscious. It really bothered me that I was heavier than my husband. I was
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit heavier than my husband. And, I had these visions of, like, when we got married, him carrying me over the threshold, and, the pictures they show of couples where he's like swinging her around on the beach, which life isn't really like that, but still you have these visions. And it just really bothered me that I was so much bigger than he was. And I would say the biggest thing, like the toughest part, is I just didn't feel good. I just didn't feel good. And really, I don't think I even fully recognized how bad I felt until I started feeling better. And then it was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow,
Absolutely.
now I contrast how I feel now, which is fantastic compared to how I felt then. And I never felt good. I felt bad all the time because of what I was eating and because of my weight and my size and the pressure on my joints and just all of those types of things.
Yeah,
So
I
that wasn't one
definitely
toughest. There were a lot of tough things.
I definitely agree with you on just physically not knowing how physically bad I felt until I didn't feel it anymore. I mean, I used to have chronic stomach aches and
Yes.
headaches, and I didn't sleep
Yes.
well. And like, I would just have so many uncomfortable, I mean, I was sore when I walked, my feet hurt all the time, my back hurt all the time. There were so many aches and pains that I didn't realize weren't normal for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when they started
Yeah,
going away, I was like, how was I living in that for so long?
exactly. Yes, absolutely. Okay, I want to pause for a second here and do our first drawing because we
Yeah.
really wanted to do some fun stuff for those of you who came and viewed it live. We will have a replay of this video for anybody who isn't able to watch it live, or if you want to go back, if you missed some parts. So for this first drawing, we're going to draw for a Faithful Finish Lines t-shirt, which we will mail to the winner. So what I'd like you to do is in the comments below, tell us, what is your weight loss or healthy eating goal currently? What is your weight loss or healthy eating goal currently? And you don't have to tell us the number of pounds if you don't want to. You can just share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. But what is your weight loss or healthy eating goal currently? And we'll give a few minutes for everybody who's here to answer that. And then Tiffany will draw and let us know who the winner is. So
Yeah.
yeah. So while we're doing that, so again, to be entered for a chance to win for the drawing for a Faithful Finish Lines t-shirt, it's what is your weight loss or healthy eating goal currently? And while we are doing that, we'll move forward. So Becky, did you hit a rock bottom low that led to change?
So I will definitely say that I did not have one moment where I thought, oh, this is it, and now my whole life is going to change, and that was my catalyst. That really isn't how it happened. But I do have two very distinct rock bottom moments where I felt like, oh my goodness, something has to change. And I won't say that I made all the changes overnight, but I just had the realization this cannot continue. So I was in Girl Scouts growing up, and we had planned this really fun mystery dinner. And so we were each supposed to dress up and play a different character, and we had a role, and we would act it out, and we had the storyline and stuff. And so I was supposed to be a man in at my role. And so I thought, oh, this is going to be so fun. I'm going to borrow my dad's clothing and I'm going to stick a big pillow in underneath his shirt to make myself look like this big guy. And that's going to be so fun. And I just had it in my mind, didn't think to try things on ahead of time. And the day of the dinner came and I went upstairs to borrow his clothes and I could not get his pants to fit. And I just remember thinking, and the same with the shirt. The shirt was very, very tight on me. There was no way a pillow would have ever fit underneath that shirt. And I just remember thinking, what teenage girl is this much bigger than her father? Because my dad, he was not a thin guy. Like, he was stocky and he's always had a little bit of a belly. And so I thought, like, that there's no way that I could be like that. And when I saw the actual measurements that didn't line up, that was a huge awakening moment for me. And it was really scary, quite honestly. I just really couldn't even wrap my mind around the fact that, like you said, like the wife is supposed to be smaller than her husband. Well, I thought the daughter is supposed to be way smaller than her dad, especially when she's still a teenager. And so that one was really, really rough that night. I remember, I just cried in his closet when I just couldn't get his clothes on.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. And I didn't have a backup plan, so it was frustrating.
So, go ahead. Did you have another one?
I did. So I had one other.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So my second moment, it was this night, and this was kind of a typical night for me. I was a nighttime eater. I was all about secret eating. I would wait until everybody went to bed, and I would sneak into the kitchen or pantry or storage room, and I would get whatever junk food we had, and I would take it back to my room and eat it all in secret. And so this night was kind of the same thing. I had taken a bag of Cheetos, a full bag of Cheetos, eaten every single crumb, turned it inside out, like licked my finger to get every single crumb.
Pour the bag.
Yeah, pour the bag.
Get the crumbs.
And all of it was done very carefully because bags crinkle, right? So I'm like moving it like it's snail's pace so that I don't make too much noise. And so after the Cheetos were gone, I went for a whole box of Little Debbie Star Crunches. And so I just ate an entire, like one by one by one, and the entire box was gone. And so I looked at it and had all this trash. And so I snuck it out to the trash can in our garage because, of course, I couldn't put it in the trash can in the house because people would see. And so I remember I was picking up all of these bags of trash to hide this underneath. And I thought, I am a really good person. I try so hard to be kind to people. I try so hard to please God. I try so hard to just be a good person. And here I am lying and stealing and hiding. And that was the moment that I realized that my weight issues had become character issues. And that, again, was a really, really impactful thing for me because for a long time, I told myself, it doesn't matter because it's not affecting anybody else. I'm not really hurting anybody. Me eating everybody else's food and them not knowing about it, it's not like they're hurting.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. It's fine. And that in that moment, I think I realized the severity of how far that I'd fallen and that it was reflecting on my character now, and I wasn't okay with that. So.
Your story just triggered a memory. When I was in high school, I was doing the candy bar fundraiser, and I ate all the candy bars myself in my room. So thankfully, I was in high school, so I had a job at the time, so at least I was able to pay for them. But yeah. Like you, I did not have one rock bottom moment where it was all of a sudden, that's it. It was really more of a series of moments. There was one time when I was eating ice cream at breakfast time, and my daughter came down. She was a toddler at the time, and she's like, how come you get to eat ice cream for breakfast and I don't? And I know that sounds kind of funny, but it really scared me because even though I was overeating in front of my kids at the time, they were still pretty young, I felt like I could still get away with it. Like they weren't really old enough to understand what was going on. And I think now that I understand more about kids and development, I recognize that even if they couldn't consciously, say what I was doing, that still affected them. And actually just recently, I apologized to both of them for some of the ways that and they were so sweet. They were so gracious. They're like, but Mom, look at how you've been such a good example for us too. And I still get emotional about it, but I do. Well, it is, God has brought me where he has brought me, but But that was a real wake-up call for me because I knew I did not want to pass on my unhealthy habits to my kids. And I shared about my stomach hitting the steering wheel. That was another one, like, girl, you got to do something about this because you're as big as you were when you were pregnant, and I wasn't pregnant. Another one I did, and I actually haven't told anybody about this, Mike knows, I went to this weight loss clinic, and it's one of those diet clinics. I don't know. It seems like they have them all over, but it was super expensive. I think it was like $350, which this was like 10 or 12 years ago. We didn't have a lot of money. And they did a bunch of shots. Like they did like vitamin B12 shots, and I don't even know what all was in these shots. I'm sure they were completely pointless. But I went, I signed up, I paid the initial down payment, and then, thank God, I came home, I told Mike, and he was willing. I mean, he's been so supportive of me, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I actually called the next day and canceled because
Oh, wow.
I feel like God was, again, protecting me. Like there was just something in my heart that was like, this is not the right way to go about it. And I'm sure it wouldn't have been harmful, but I don't think there was any value in it. And I think, again, it was desperation, desperate. I was willing to do anything, even get shots that were probably completely pointless and possibly even harmful to try to lose weight. So, and that kind of goes into the next question, which is, what types of things did you try to do to lose weight? So that's one of mine. But go ahead, Becky, tell us about yours.
Oh gosh, I did everything that I could think of at the time. I mean, I did, the first thing I did was Slim Fast. My dad had always drunk a Slim Fast shake for breakfast. And so that was the first thing I tried. And it ended up, I mean, over the years, gosh, I did the Whole30. I did juicing. I did calorie counting. I did every 30-day program, like give up sugar for 30 days, give up carbs for 30 days, give up everything for 30 days. Gosh, what else did I do? I did Weight Watchers for a while. I did Atkins for a while. I can't even remember them all, but every plan that was available, I tried it. I tried weight loss pills for a while, which was horrible. Oh my goodness. From the first pill I took, my body was so sick. It was just rejecting this, saying like, this is not a plan that you should continue. And so thankfully, like you said, like, I really feel like God protected me there. Because if my physical symptoms hadn't been so pronounced, I probably would have taken them a lot longer than I did. But every fad thing, I mean, every ab belt or like shake weight, everything.
Thigh master.
I've had treadmills and everything you can think of, all of the Denise Austin, every video program,
Jane
Jillian
Fonda,
Michaels, 30-day shred, Jane Fonda, all of them. I have done every exercise and diet program out there. And now, I mean, keto wasn't popular until more recently, and so that was after I'd lost my weight.
But the precursor.
Atkins was the thing, and I gained weight on Atkins, and I was mad at them for it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So I didn't do as many different types of diets. I had actually kind of forgotten about signing up for that weight loss clinic until I was preparing for this video. Mostly I counted calories. My dad counted calories. He would keep this little notebook. This was before the times of smartphones. So I picked up that. And then as an adult, I did Weight Watchers. So I'd go to Weight Watchers, stall out, and then I'd be like, well, what am I paying for not losing weight for? I'll just do it on my own at home, ha, 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 which I, of course, never did. And then I'd gain the weight back, and then I'd get desperate, and then I'd go back. And, so I just really cycled through that. Just hearing you talk reminded me, too, of a story when my oldest daughter was a baby. The Rosie O'Donnell show came out.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved it. I used to watch it every afternoon. It was on at 3:00. And that was just my little break in the afternoon, while Becca was napping or when she first got up. And I just related to Rosie. She was overweight like me, and she was honest about her struggles. And then I think it was the second season, she started working with a personal trainer. And I was so mad. I quit watching. Like, that was my thing I look forward to every afternoon. I was really mad because I felt like it was almost like, Rosie and I had this bond, okay? Our bond was that we were overweight, and it was okay that we were overweight. And then suddenly she was doing something about it. Well, I didn't she'll get back to me on that. I'm still waiting to hear back from her. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man, absolutely.
That's right. Oh, and I see that lots of people are commenting about some of the different diets they did. So it'll be great to read through some of those. I'd love to look at them more. But let's go ahead and do the drawing.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Tiffany, if you want to go ahead and draw. Oh, actually, I think I got a message from her. The winner of
Tiffany
the t-shirt,
it's
Amanda Lindsay. Yay! Congratulations, Amanda. Yay! So we'll get with you and make sure that you get. And do you want to go ahead and say now, Becky?
Yeah, go ahead and send us an email at support@faithfulfinishlines.com, and we'll figure it out from there. So support@faithfulfinishlines.com. Send us an email and we'll get back to you on that.
Awesome. And we're going to do another drawing here in just a little bit. Okay, so Becky, the next question, what does your husband think of your weight loss?
Okay, so it's a little bit different for me because my husband didn't know me until after my weight loss. And
that is so wild to me to think about.
Because I know, well, and it's weird for him too. He sees old pictures of me and he just doesn't, like, they're just so disconnected for him. This former life of mine.
Yeah,
because like I said, it's not just my physical body was different, but like my whole attitude and personality was so different. So it was hilarious. When we first started dating, he was terrified that he was going to send me off the deep end instantly if he ate junk food in front of me, which is so funny because he is crazy about junk food. This guy was living off of fast food when I met him. He has a separate dessert stomach we tease him about. And so he was really scared that just him being him and eating all this junk food was just going to make me gain the weight back right away. And so planning dates in the beginning was hilarious because he was like, well, are you okay if we go to this type of restaurant? I mean, do you want to see the menu first? Are there things you can eat here? Oh. And it really took him a while to figure out that that's not what my food freedom has looked like. And so now he definitely describes it. I mean, he thinks it's really ironic that he has never had weight issues. He's at his heaviest now than he's ever been in his life, really. Well, lighter now that he's married to me and I make him all the vegetables. But his mom always says that we did our weight loss journeys in reverse. So he was always the stick skinny kid and I was the big kid. And so now he just talks about how impressed he is that I am just so self-controlled around food. I have so much discipline to get out and walk when I don't feel like it, to just do the things that I know are really good for me, even when they're not convenient. And especially just the self-control around food. He does not know how I can be around like plates and plates and plates of all my favorite food. And I can still say, I think one bite might be enough right now. And that just blows his mind. And so, it's really nice and sweet when he says things like that. And so it's always good to hear. But yeah, for a long time, it was just fear. Like, I don't want to be the reason that you gain all the weight back.
You're like, you couldn't do that if you tried.
Nope.
Oh, so first of all, while I'm thinking of it, I forgot to mention at the beginning, although I'll talk about it at the end too, but I said this is the first video in a series of 3. The next one is going to be September 10th at this same time at 6 o'clock. So I just want to make sure I say that, and I'll talk about it more at the end too. But now my husband, again, different than Becky's because he has been with me on this whole journey. I was overweight when we started dating and got married. I actually weigh quite a bit less now than I did then, but I was at the lightest I had been as an adult. And then I gained a lot of weight through the course of our marriage and then lost it all. So my husband has been so super supportive, and I don't think he's watching right now, but I just have to give him a huge shout out because he's been so supportive. Absolutely loves me at every size, was super, loving and supportive, and said I was sexy and all those things when I was 100 pounds overweight, and I really, really appreciate that. But he's also put his money where his mouth is. I mean, he's been willing to pay for Weight Watchers and pay for triathlon fees and then, support me as far as watching the kids, which is no small thing because we have 5 kids. And while I was losing the weight, we were foster parents. A lot of times we had several babies. And so he would watch the kids while I would go out and exercise, and he would watch the kids while I did my races and
Wow.
while I did my different things. Yeah, so he truly has been very supportive. We definitely have had our growing pains through our marriage. Not so much the food. I think more, we've had different times where I've snapped at him for sitting down in front of me with a bowl of ice cream, especially at the beginning, or just figuring out like where do we go out to eat. And I'm a lot more flexible about those things now, but when I first started losing weight, I needed a lot more structure with that, or just couldn't handle as much temptation around me. But he more struggled with the physical activity, with the exercise aspect, because neither one of us was athletic in school. We were more like the geeks, the nerds. We got made fun of by the athletic, popular kids. So then when he saw me sort of becoming one of those people, I think it made him nervous. It kind of triggered for him some things of like, are you going to turn into a jerk because you're doing exercise? And so we had to kind of grow through some of those things, and for him to recognize that I could do triathlons and still be a nice person.
Yes, definitely.
But overall, he's just been incredibly supportive. So,
oh, that's the best.
So, go ahead.
So I was just going to jump back a little bit. When we were talking about all the diets, because I saw Martha's question here. She said, so what has changed for you two? So Martha, that's a much longer answer, but I do want to just say one thing on that. So all of the diets that I said I tried, for a long time, it was the yo-yo dieting. I would be on or off. And really, one of the biggest things that made the difference for me is that I finally gave myself permission to live in what I call the gray area. So between the on or off, I could use some of that diet that made sense, that I could manage and make some good choices, but I could also have some of the treats or some of the flexibility or some of the freedom that I needed to make it more realistic. And so, if you read on my website, So Very Blessed, I list, I describe more of my weight loss journey, but really I just say that I lost the weight one small change at a time, because the drastic stuff didn't do it for me. It was really saying, okay, right now I'm going to focus on drinking less soda. And don't think that I gave soda up overnight, because I didn't. It took me years to fully give up soda, but I have true freedom from it. I don't drink soda at all now, and I don't want soda at all now. And so there are just a lot of those changes that built up in my life, from things like Weight Watchers that taught me portion control, Atkins that taught me how many carbs I was actually eating, things like that. Like, there were so many little things from every diet that really came together. But like I said, that's a much longer answer than we can go into today on all of the different things that made the difference. But I did want to touch back on that.
That is a great question. And we're going to talk a little bit at the end, too, about our new program that we have coming out. It's called our Faithful Finish Lines 2.0 membership, and it has 10 stages. And each stage of the program, we walk you through one step at a time, basically what we did. Like, these are the things we have recognized will lead to success, will get you to your goal weight, will help you grow in faith, will help you lose weight from a Christ-centered perspective. So, like Becky said, that's a bigger question than we can answer in this video, but really what we've done is we've turned it into a course, and we walk you through it, the whole thing, and we have individual lessons, we have videos where we share really super specifically, because the truth is you can't address all of these issues at once. You do have to break it down. The way I would answer that is emotional eating. Because really, I think you can lose weight on most any relatively healthy diet. I have some things I think are healthier than others, but people who've lost weight on Weight Watchers, people who haven't, people who've lost weight on keto, people who haven't, people who've lost weight going vegan, people who haven't, whatever. And to me, what makes the difference in all of those and any diet I tried, the failure I had, now the success, is learning to overcome emotional eating. Because if you're eating for emotional reasons, I can guarantee you, I don't care what diet you're on, you will not be successful with losing weight and keeping it off. So that's my super short answer. But
yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to the next drawing.
Okay.
So the next drawing is for a free month of Faithful Fitness. And Faithful Fitness is our online exercise program. specifically geared toward weight loss and with a biblical perspective. So we're going to draw for a free month. And the way to do that is in the comments below, tell us what is your favorite healthy food. And then Tiffany will draw in a little bit. So what is your favorite healthy food? And then while they're doing that, Becky, do you want to share, what do other significant people in your life think of your weight loss? Did you lose or gain any friends when you lost weight?
Yeah, that's a really good question that stopped me. I really had to go back and think. So I am actually going to rewind a little bit about and talk just a little bit about how people in my life handled my weight gain, like me at my heaviest. So most of the people in my life are just so wonderful and supportive. My best friend still to this day, we've been best friends for over 2 decades now. And she was with me at my heaviest, and she just never saw me as fat and still doesn't. And she just swears to this day, that's not who you were to me. And I just love her for it.
Love her.
I know. I love her for it. My mom was really blunt about it. She would just tell me factually, I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world that I could float in a pool where my best friend sank. And she said, well, the truth is fat floats, and that's just kind of how it works. And I remember thinking, that is so rude, but it's also true. So, yeah, so she was just trying to be honest the whole time. This is where you are. This is what's going on. You are overeating. You shouldn't be eating this many nutty bars, things like that. And then there was my grandpa. I've never shared about this online yet, but, he treated me differently my entire life because I was overweight. My sisters were thinner, and he just thought that that's how women should be. And he treated me quite differently. My mom tried so hard, and my grandma too. They both tried so hard to compensate and cover it, and tried to talk to him in secret about it, and nothing ever worked. And so that is still one relationship that my grandfather passed away before I lost all the weight. And I still think to myself sometimes, which is so unhealthy, but I still think to myself, if only he would have loved me more if he could have seen me skinny. And that's such a hard thing to say, but it's so true. I still just believe it through every part of my being. I just so wanted to be that person for him. Because like I said, my whole goal in life was to be likable and lovable. And why am I not good enough for you? It was such a hard struggle for me. So he was really the one person in my life. I had so many bullies. There were such mean people, but they weren't people that I knew. But when somebody who knows you and loves you and is supposed to love you unconditionally doesn't, that was a really hard pill for me to swallow. So aside from that, though, when I lost the weight, I didn't lose any friends at all. In fact, it was the complete opposite. When I actually started coming out of my shell and being the person that God created me to be, and sharing opinions and having a personality, and having more confidence and stepping out of my comfort zone and doing things, and connecting with people, talking to people more often instead of kind of hiding in a corner. And I just gained so many friends in workout classes and running 5Ks in the groups that I connected with, in just sharing healthy recipes with people. People love sharing healthy recipes and connecting on healthy levels. And healthy people are just so happy. You go out hiking in Rocky Mountain National Park, and every hiker's like, good morning, how you doing today? And everybody's happy. And so I found the same thing with 5Ks. And I just, my life totally changed with my weight loss, and my social life totally changed with my weight loss. I have so many more friends and deeper connections. And so that's kind of how it affected me.
Yeah, my experience was really similar. I'm reading some of the comments too. I love seeing everything everybody is posting. And one of the lessons too in the Faithful Finish Lines 2.0 membership is about the pain that overweight has brought you, and how to come to healing with some of that. Because I see that some people are sharing about the ways that, significant people in your life have said really painful things to you about your weight. And there's definitely healing that can be done from that. And like the story that Becky shared. I don't think I lost any friends as I lost weight, but I definitely gained friends, which shifted my priorities and where I spent time. The triathlon community was huge for me. It was so good for me to start hanging out with people who value exercise, who just look at exercise as normal, who add exercise into their life, not because they have to, but because it's fun and they think it's enjoyable. I didn't really grow up in a family that did much of that. For fun, we like to go out to eat and go to the movies and eat. So, got a theme here going on, go to family picnics and eat, mostly eat. So we didn't really we didn't talk about exercise or weren't encouraged to exercise per se. So being around people that valued that was really good for me. And then some really great online communities too over the years have just brought me some wonderful relationships. So yeah. So Tiffany, it looks like already drew our second winner, and it is Jenny Swithers Hagen. Jenny Swithers Hagen, congratulations.
Oh, congratulations.
So again, if you can send us an email, support@faithfulfinishlines.com, we will get you set up for a free month of Faithful Fitness.
Absolutely.
And I do want to see here just a couple questions. Amanda asked, do you still follow Weight Watchers? Sorry if I missed that previously. I do. Becky doesn't. We do recommend in our program that women either use MyFitnessPal or Weight Watchers. A few maybe use some other apps, but we do recommend that you keep track at the beginning. We gradually move you into mindful eating, where you're eating in a more intuitive way, but when you start, we recommend that you keep track. And then on average, how much has one spent on healthy foods? Do you mean that's from Nicole Francis? Like how much in your budget? Go ahead, Becky.
I wouldn't. I mean, I am a penny pincher. I have a pretty tight food budget, and I don't find it difficult at all. I will also admit, I do not buy organic. So I don't know, like healthy means something different to everybody. So I buy a ton of fruits and vegetables every single week. That's just kind of my staple: fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains. That makes up the bulk of what I buy every week, but those are not expensive for me. I don't buy at Whole Foods. Most of my groceries I get at Walmart. You can eat very, very healthy on a budget. So don't let that be the reason that stops you.
Yeah. Same. I'm definitely on a budget here. 5 kids, pastor's wife. But I would also say I'm not afraid to invest in my health and wellness. I have a gym membership. I do Taekwondo classes. I've done races, which can get really pricey. Buying healthy food, to me, that it's all worth it because it's going to save me a ton of money in the long run on doctor bills and, all the other stuff I had going on. To me, it's totally worth the investment. It really is. So, okay, I want to keep going. So Becky, the next question is, what's the toughest part of maintaining your weight? Are there foods you miss?
That's such a good question. And this is one that I get really excited to talk about because of the way that I lost weight, that like very slowly over a long period of time, weight maintenance is a breeze for me. I don't count calories. I rarely have to think to myself like, oh, you're overeating it, because once, like Sarah described, the process that we take you through, you do have to start and like have a good base of what am I eating? How much am I eating? How much should I be eating? But then once I got that foundational knowledge and built on it, and over time practiced, I did get to the point where I can mindfully, intuitively eat. And so weight maintenance has not been difficult for me. I'm still mindful of my choices. I don't just let myself have French fries every time I feel like it, but I have my cravings under control, even though I still have them. Like I have this self-control and around food that I never, ever thought that I would have. And so it really, like, I still keep an eye on my weight. Most of my weight maintenance, I was weighing myself maybe once every 3 months just to check in and say, are you close? Like maybe there would be a few pounds that would go up or down and it would be fine. I definitely still count that as maintenance. And heck no, there are no foods that I miss because I eat everything. I will definitely say that the way I eat food is what has changed so drastically, because like I described in the beginning of the video, I was eating in secret. I was eating whole boxes of things at once, and hiding all the evidence and just being so ashamed about food. And I remember I used to be so embarrassed that I liked chocolate and I was fat. Like when I was
Mm-hmm.
overweight, I didn't think that people should know that about me. I wanted people to think you're overweight, but you like vegetables, so you're going to get on the right track. And I was so embarrassed that I liked junk food. And so I think that's part of the reason why I ate it so much in secret. But now, like I said, yesterday we went to this cheese place and had 5 different desserts that all of us were cutting up. We had chocolate mousse cake and chocolate oblivion and all kinds of like very decadent things that were amazing. And I'm very open about that now. Oh, I love this food. Oh, this is delicious. Oh, I'd love to learn how to make this. And it's not embarrassing and it's not shameful. It's just good food, but I eat enough and I actually feel that enough, which I didn't used to feel. And so, that's how weight maintenance has gone for me. It's full food freedom. I can be around anything at any time and have self-control and keep my weight at a healthy level.
So, totally same for me with the foods. There is no food I don't eat. No food is off limits. No food is off the table. There are definitely foods that maybe sound good at a particular time that I'll choose not to eat because I do know that okay, if I eat this, then I won't be able to have a normal sized dinner and I want to be able to have a healthy dinner, something like that. So I don't want to somehow give the impression that I'm over here eating like plates of French fries and whole pies and then going, oh, it's so easy to maintain my weight. It's not like that, but definitely no food is off the table. I'm more intentional. I tend to more plan ahead treats that I'm going to have. I'm really conscious of not wanting to just give into cravings because the more you give into cravings, the more you have cravings, and then that just makes it harder. I've also definitely found that the more I eat healthy, whole foods, less sugar, less carbs, I have less cravings, which is what I want, less cravings, less hunger. But no food is off the table. As far as maintaining my weight, exercise has been the easiest for me in the sense of it sounds so funny to even say it out loud, but I actually enjoy it because I hated it so much for so long. But I truly do enjoy it. I won't say I enjoy every minute of it, but overall, I enjoy it. I get so much out of it. I feel so good when I'm done. And now I've done it enough that I know that feeling is coming. So exercise has been the easiest. Food has been somewhat more challenging. What I would actually say is I've probably had more food freedom in the last 6 months than I had previously. And what changed is that in April, we started a beta group through the Faithful Finish Lines 2.0 program that we're going to open September 15th. And I started following the guidelines that we give the group faithfully because I wanted to make sure that what we were doing was actually, I'm not going to tell you to do something that I'm not going to do. And it's had a tremendous difference. I've lost weight. I feel good. And I'm just finding more food freedom than ever. It's actually easier for me to maintain at this lower weight I'm at now than what I was maintaining before. So that gives me such full confidence in recommending the program, which I saw earlier. We had a question. Jenny said, I just started the 7-week program. Is 2.0 better? Well, I wrote them both, so it's kind of hard for me to, it's like choosing my children. But the new 2.0 membership is very, very different and much, much more in depth. The 2.0 does have food guidelines for each week, but it mostly focuses on getting to an exercise goal. The membership is all encompassing. It's a 10 to 12 month program. And then maintenance after that. It's much, much more in depth. So both are great, but I really, really have to say, if you want the whole picture, the membership is where you want to go. So
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And then Veretta asked, how long did it take you to learn to count calories? I swear, I feel like I was born counting calories because my dad did it. And it's so easy now with like my Fitness Pal. You can put stuff in and it automatically calculates for you. So
Yeah, I'm not exactly
Yeah.
sure how to answer how long it took
Yeah.
me. I mean, it does
Yeah.
take practice, and counting the calories is not really the hard part. It's more like getting it in your
Yeah.
mind. Okay, this is how many, like, this is how to
Mm-hmm.
distribute my calories. This is how to eat them best.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of trial and error. And so that took a while because I, like Sarah and I, well, I definitely, when I first started counting calories, I was just like, all right, how many Cheetos can I eat and still stay under my calorie goal for the day? And
Yes.
so learning to count calories, but also in the right way, eating the right foods, that's
Mm-hmm.
something we walk you through in the program. It's just, it's a progression. It takes steps.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, that also comes back to the emotional eating. Like if you don't have issues with eating for emotional reasons, you probably can count calories without too much trouble. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe I should more accurately say stay within your calorie budget. But if you're eating for emotional reasons, if you're eating for reasons other than physical hunger, you're going to struggle with that. So
Yeah.
recognizing why you're overeating and then addressing those issues, because that's really the heart of your issues. So, okay. So we already did our drawing. So the next question is, Becky, did you have surgery for loose skin? Is loose skin an issue for you?
I have not had surgery yet, but someday that might be an option. I still would like to have kids in the future. And so having the weight loss surgery just isn't wise if you're planning to stretch your belly out again. And so I'm not really letting myself think too seriously about that right now. But it's something that bothers me. It's not something that is physically impactful. It's not like I have medical reasons for needing the loose skin surgery, but it's more of, honestly, like I kind of feel like I missed out on having my body. I don't remember having a flat stomach ever. I was probably 6 and had rolls, and I kind of feel like I missed out. So I haven't made a firm decision there yet on what I want to do. And I'm not even sure how I feel about it, because part of me is like, this is how God created you to be. Should you really be going through a medical procedure to change what your body looks like now? I'm not even sure that I know exactly how I feel about that. I know some people have done it and they've loved it. Some people have done it and they haven't loved it and they've had a really hard experience. So I'll dig into it more in the future to see how I really feel about it. But it's something, I do have loose skin. It's definitely a thing for me. I really love workout clothes because they just hold it all in for me.
Shapewear.
Yep, shapewear is a beautiful thing. But it is hard thinking like, man, I could probably lose another 5 to 10 pounds just with the skin coming off.
I've heard 10 pounds. That's what
10
somebody told
pounds,
me.
really?
8 to 10 pounds. See, it
Wow.
probably depends on like how much and where on your body and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a thing I think about often. What about you, Sarah?
Yep. I have not had surgery. I have thought about it, not real seriously, over the years, but I've definitely, I've got loose skin on my arms. I've got some, mine is probably mostly my inner thighs. Never really had any problems with it. For a while when I first started cycling, like my skin would catch, like when I was getting on and off my bike seat. But once I started wearing like compression bike shorts, then that held it all in. Love the exercise wear, like you said.
Yep.
I might still do it. Like I said, I've thought about it, but I also don't. Loose skin is not going to cause me to have a heart attack or something like that. Whereas being overweight certainly would. So, and it helps too that, like I said, my husband's really supportive. He always tells me I'm beautiful, sexy, and so that helps a lot too. So, so that's mine. Yeah. Becky, do you have any regrets about your weight loss journey?
I really don't. I sometimes I kind of wish, I wish I could go back and do all of these things in 1 year so that I could have one of those miracle weight loss stories. But honestly, that would take away, I don't think that I would be able to maintain my weight so easily if I had done it in a year. I think that if I had changed one single thing along my journey, I don't think that I would be quite where I am today. And so I kept thinking about that question, if there was something that I could regret. So obviously all of us, like when we're overweight, we wish for a magic solution. We want a quick fix. We want that weight to be gone. And I tell our group, our 2.0 group often, that I used to wish that I could be on The Biggest Loser, because I just thought, man, if I could have lost the weight in 6 months and then just had it done, that would have been awesome. But now they have these studies that have come out where those 6 months of that intense months working out and calorie deprivation, they just screwed up their metabolisms for life. And I am so thankful that I can eat normally, that I can exercise normally, not like a crazy, like Sara exercises way more than I do. We talk about that a lot. Right now, honestly, my exercise plan is mostly walking. I walk 5,000 steps before breakfast, and that's the bulk of my activity currently. I do some strength training too, but I feel like I get to maintain my weight loss as a normal person, and I love that. So I don't think that I could wish anything could be different, because I think that would change where I am now.
I definitely have no regrets. None. Not really a person to do a lot of regrets anyway. I just feel like what I've been through is what's brought me to where I am today. And I just wouldn't have been ready earlier. I wouldn't have been able to, I needed all of these life experiences to bring me where I am. There was a time, especially like maybe a year and a half after I'd lost weight into like the first 2 to 3 years, that I really wished I'd had weight loss surgery. And the reason for that is it was hard. It was so hard to maintain. And not that I wanted to have surgery per se, but I had read that like people who have surgery, it can help decrease their appetite. And so, they just can't overeat. But now I've seen so much about people who've had weight loss surgery who gain weight back anyway. And I know there are a lot of health consequences potentially. I guess what I would say is surgery is no easy road, which I know. But I mean, I know those people have to do so much too, who have made that choice. But what when I look at my weight loss now, I just say, this is grace. Grace is God giving us undeserved merit and favor. And I just can't even tell you how thankful I feel. I just feel like God has just poured his grace on me. Like I just am overflowing with grace. I'm so very thankful. That's what I think of when I think about my weight loss. I just feel so thankful.
I so agree with that. Yep.
Which leads right into the next question, which is, how has losing 100 pounds changed your faith and your life?
Yeah, so I've shared throughout this video that I am a completely different person. I feel like when I was overweight, I just had this shell, like I was just this shell of a person. I was just fitting whatever mold that people wanted me to fit. And it has been the most incredible freedom to allow myself or give myself permission to pursue God's purpose for me and not just try to people please. And that has just been incredible. And so, when you talk about how it affected my faith, number one, like you said, I view this as a miracle. I feel like I have experienced something that could only come from God. This was not me. It cannot come from human power, because like you heard, I did not have the willpower. I did not have the self-control. I didn't have it in me at the time, but those fruits of the Spirit were just built in me over years and years and years of practice and faith and prayer and desperation and seeking God. And now, honestly, like back then, because I was trying so hard to please people, my story to me meant nothing. Like what Christ had done in my life wasn't impactful, because I just thought it didn't mean anything because I was still overweight. And so I feel like I allowed that to really suck the miracle out of the story that was already me before my weight loss. Like just you, as you are made, like you are a miracle, and you were created to do these amazing big things. And we can let the shame of our weight just suck all of the power behind your story. And I feel like that's what I let it do for mine. And so these days, man, do I like not just my weight loss story, but everything. I was in an emotionally abusive marriage for 6 years, like all of these things that were very, very shameful for me for a very long time. I just want to tell everybody what Christ has done and how he has transformed me in all of these ways. And I just believe that so much of our Christian walk is about sharing that, because just like Sara said earlier, the purpose of this video today, I want each and every one of you to know that next time you are feeling completely mortified in whatever situation, that you were not the only one, that other people have been there, that you can still talk about it, that you can tell your parents on the airplane that your seatbelt doesn't buckle, like that there are all of these things, that the shame doesn't have to completely hold you back. And so I feel like that has just been the biggest transformation. So obviously, Sarah and I have talked about the physical changes. I feel amazing these days. I feel amazing being around food, good food and healthy food. I love vegetables. I eat them all the time. I crave fruit, which is awesome. I still love my Little Debbie Nutty Bars, and that's cool too. I enjoy exercise. I like getting up and walking first thing in the morning, which is so weird because I'm not even a morning person, but, but that just like, it feels good to me. And so that's why I think that's part of the reason why my maintenance has been so easy, because I love how I feel when I'm living my healthy normal. When I am sticking to my habits, I feel so good and I function so well. I think better. I focus better. I am a better wife. I am a better friend. I'm a better coworker when I am doing those things for myself. And so, yeah, it's just been a 180-degree transformation in my life.
Amen. Beautiful. I love hearing it. I think for me, faith-wise, I mean, it's been such a journey of faith. There's a time I distinctly remember that I was literally on my knees in my living room with my arms extended, just praying like, God, you just have to come and take over this process because I can't do it on my own anymore. So I have grown so much spiritually through this. What I would say is that God sees, God cares, He's involved. Actually, not that long ago, just a few weeks ago, I had someone say, we were talking about some different website things, and she kind of said, well, you just help women get skinny. And I thought, don't
like
we all wish? Right. Like she was almost kind of saying like that the Christian aspect of my site was somewhat shallow because it was focused on weight. And I thought, oh, you just don't even know. Like, you don't understand. And thank God that this person doesn't have food and weight issues, good for her. But those of us who are going through it, I know those of you who are watching this video, you get it, that this affects every aspect of your life, including your faith. And so can God be involved in your weight loss journey? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
He can be involved in every single aspect, whether that is the motivation to exercise or the decision to say no to, food when you're not hungry, or those tempting moments, or celebrating. I mean, all of it. God is involved in all of it, and He's involved in all of it. For me, for Becky, it can be the same for you too. As far as my life, my whole life has changed because now I have this website and this program and these physical activities that I do, and so much more confidence. The way my confidence has grown, I really just can't even say. That has carried over into so many more aspects of my life. So what I want you to know is that you can do this. You can get to your goal weight. You can maintain your goal weight. You can have food freedom. You can grow in faith. We promise it's possible because we've done it, and we know that you can do it too, and we can lead you into doing it too. So originally we were going to answer some reader questions, but I think, Becky, because we're so far on our time,
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going. So
Sounds good.
We will come back into the comments when the video is done, and I promise we will answer as many comments and questions as we absolutely can. And I know Tiffany is behind the scenes doing that for us too. So we've mentioned it several times, but this fall we have a new program coming. It's called Faithful Finish Lines 2.0 membership. You guys, it's so good.
So good.
We are so excited to share this with you. So this is a very in-depth program. It has 10 stages, and it leads you step by step by step through Christian weight loss. And we take you through the very super practical, like, how do I track? What kinds of foods do I eat? What do I drink? When do I weigh in? What should my calorie goal be? All of that, into the emotional, how to conquer emotional eating, the mental, past life painful experiences that might be driving you to eat, into the spiritual, how to bring God into your weight loss, how to grow in the fruits of the Spirit so that you can continue to maintain your weight, all of it. And the program is going to be open for enrollment September 15th through 18th. So just a short window, and then it closes. We're going to open and then close because we really, really want to serve our members. The planned cost is $49 a month, or you can pay for the whole year at once. But for this first open enrollment, we're going to do it for $40 a month. Only for those 3 days, $40 a month, and that's the lowest price. And then you can be locked into that price for as long as you're a member, or you can do annual for $422, which is 12% off. So we really, really, really want you to think about doing it. We've already had a bunch of women tell us that they're going to join. Since April, we actually have been leading a beta group or a test group through the program, and it's going really, really well. Some of those members are actually on here. Tiffany's on here. Sandy's on here. So you can ask them what it's like, and they'll respond to you in the comments and tell you how it's going for them. Barbara's on here. Did I see Andrea was on here?
Andrea was, Dawn was on earlier.
Oh, awesome. So I apologize if I missed anybody, but we have some people in here who are testing out the program now. So ask them what they think of it and what their experience has been like, and they'll respond to you in the comments. I want to share one testimonial, which is from Glow. She is one of our members, and she, I think she said, has lost 30 pounds, and she gave me permission to share this. So this is what Glow said. Glow says, I've been fat my entire life. My entire identity was being fat. I got used to the fact that I would be fat until I died. It didn't make me like it, and I still tried to lose weight sporadically. I'm one of those who have tried every weight loss method known to man. Some were sound medically, some were not. Nothing worked in the long run. That is, until I joined Faithful Finish Lines. From the very beginning, I realized this program was different. The facilitators really cared about me. They encouraged me and prayed over me and for me. For the first time in my 66 years, I started to learn why I overate and how I could change that behavior. There is no guilt, only grace. There's no condemnation, only encouragement. The lesson assignments you do at your own pace are relevant, thought-provoking, and give you insight to the fact that it's not so much what you eat, but what's eating you. She says, I'm closer in my walk with God, and guilt and shame are a thing of the past. I am a beautiful, beloved child of the King, and I finally realize I'm worthy. I owe this change of mindset to the facilitators and members of Faithful Finish Lines.
I've read that before, and it still gives me goosebumps. Yeah, I just love it.
Awesome. Yep. All right. So I mentioned at the beginning, this is video 1 out of 3 videos. So the next video, we are going to do a live Q&A coaching session. So if you have questions that you want answered live, we are going to answer those questions for you. So it's September 10th at 6 o'clock. We definitely want to have you come and join us. And we'll put a link too, so you can RSVP, and then Facebook will give you a notification. So, Becky, do you want to go ahead and close us out with prayer?
Yeah, that's funny. Patty just said would love to end with a prayer. Patty, we are all
there you go. You read our minds.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Heavenly Father, I just thank you so much for the opportunity that you've given Sara and I, the platform to share our stories, and honestly, just to share the miracles that you have performed in our lives. Lord, we don't want the attention to be drawn to us. We know that this didn't come from us. These amazing, life-changing, heart-changing transformations can only come from you. And we just give you all of the glory from taking us from that deep, dark shame, embarrassment, hidden eating, emotional eating, just pouring ourselves into food and drowning ourselves in eating, and just experiencing the freedom that you have to offer us as you grow the fruit of the Spirit in us in our weight loss journey. Lord, I just ask that you allow each and every woman watching tonight to experience that freedom, wherever they are right now, Lord, whether they join the program or not. I pray that you show them the next step. Lord. You don't need to show them 10 years in advance or what you were going to do, because if you had shown me, I wouldn't have believed you, Lord, in the beginning. So I just pray that you just show them the next step. And I just pray that you bless their efforts, that you just help them learn to experience more of you and just to see more of you in themselves, Lord, as they take the next steps forward. And just knowing that food is so much a part of it, but it's not about the food. It's about you and our relationships with you and how we can live to serve and glorify you, God. So I pray that you just show each and every woman what that looks like for them in their lives. I praise you so much for this time that you've given us to connect with them. And we just love you so much, Lord. It's in your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Becky, for praying for us. Thanks to all of you for joining us. This has been really fun. We could just easily sit here and talk for 3 or 4 more hours, which would be really great, but we don't want the video to go on too long. So we will come back and answer any follow-up comments or questions, and we really hope you'll consider joining us on September 15th for the Faithful Finish Lines 2.0 membership, which we are very excited about offering to you.
And if you have any questions or struggles that you want personal advice to on our next video, go ahead and send us an email, support@faithfulfinishlines.com, and we'll see what we have time to answer. So
yeah,
we would
we'll
love to hear
answer
from you.
absolutely as many as we can. Yep. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.